In our previous lesson, we looked at importance of government and the institutions that perform those functions. In this lesson, we are going to talk about basic concept. Basic concept. Now, in every subject, there are some terms used. The same way in government, we have terms. For instance, in science, you hear terms like osmosis and diffusion. In government, we have terms. Now, but by the end of this lesson, you should be able to explain such terms like political power, legitimacy, authority, monarchy, and oligarchy. These are some of the basic concepts you want to consider. Now let's start. The first one is political power. First of all, when we say power, power simply means the ability to influence somebody against the person's wish. So when we say you have power, it means you can influence somebody against the person's wish. For example, if your colleague is not willing to go for break and you are able to make him or her go, it means that you have power. So that is power. But this time we are narrowing our discussion to political power. And political power is the ability to influence the citizens to do whatever we are asked to do by the authorities. That is political power. Now, what are the sources of political power? Where do people get or derived their political power from? The first one is through election. In election, we give powers to our elected representatives. Now, the next one is military force. People secure political power through what we call coup d'etat. Coup d'etat. Now, with this, they come to power through the barrel of the gun. And that is what we call military power. Then people also gain political power through inheritance. This is countries known as the monarchical states. Monarchical states, where people assume the reins of power through inheritance, like Britain. Then economic strength. You and I can testify that if you have money right now, it's likely you can become a member of parliament or you can secure power, which means that these days, most people vote based on what they can get from you. Well, it might not be the right thing, but that's what people do. Then through appointment, like the DCs, the presidents appoint them, and that is the source of their political power. So these are the sources of political power. Now let's move on and talk about another concept known as legitimacy. Now, legitimacy simply means the acceptance of a person that is the right person to do what he's doing. That is legitimacy. So if you are doing something and you are not accepted by the people, then you are illegitimate. So legitimacy is acceptance. Acceptance by people or the rightful rule. It means that you are the right person to rule and therefore you are ruling. That is legitimacy. Then the next one is authority. Now, authority comes from legitimacy. If you are the right person to do what you are doing, that means that you have the right to give orders or to instruct people to do something. And that is authority. So authority simply means the right to give orders. That is authority. Now, the next one is monarchy. Monarchy or monarchical government. This is where the ruler is a king or a queen. So if you go to some countries, their ruler is a king or a queen. That is what we call monarchy. Now the next one is aristocracy. And you can get the word aristocrat. Aristocrat. We are talking about a government by the highest class or by the highest rank. That is the aristocrats. Sometimes in some countries, the elite, the people with a high status, they are known as the aristocrat. So when you have a system of government where these people are the ones ruling, then it's known as aristocracy. Now the next one is what we call oligarchy. Oligarchy. Oligarchy is simply the rule by a few powerful people in their own interest. In their own interest. In other words, in oligarchy, the rule is by few powerful people, and they also rule in their own interest. So even though aristocracy is also ruled by the elite or people with high status, but they don't rule in their own interest. Now, this brings us to the end of the lesson. In our next lesson, we will still look at basic concepts, but we will look at capitalism.